Before dawn on November 10, 2025, Super Typhoon Uwan, known internationally as Fung-wong, slammed into the Philippines with the force of a Category 5 hurricane winds, screaming past 140 miles per hour waves, towering nearly 15 feet high. Within minutes, entire towns were underwater. Power grids collapsed, streets turned to rivers, and what was once the calm of the early morning became pure chaos. From Catanduanes to Camarines Norte, trees snapped like matchsticks. Roofs tore off homes and vanished into the dark. Families clung to doors, furniture, anything that could float. The world's newest super typhoon had arrived, and the Philippines was caught right in its path. But this wasn't just another storm. This was a warning, a glimpse into what happens when nature stops knocking and starts breaking down the door.
Natuma na sa balay, guys. Never na mo rescue ba? Ay, putol pa ang...
Open up!
At first light, the Philippines disappeared beneath a curtain of rain. Super Typhoon Uwan made landfall on Luzon Island just after 4:00 a.m., and within minutes the coastline of Catanduanes was unrecognizable. The wind was a living thing, howling, twisting, ripping everything in its path. Waves, taller than houses, slammed into the shore, breaking seawalls and flooding entire neighborhoods before sunrise. In the town of Virac, streetlights flickered one last time before going black. Power poles leaned and fell like dominoes. Boats were lifted from their docks and hurled inland. Cars floated through intersections that had become rivers. Families who had spent the night waiting for the storm's arrival could only listen as their roofs peeled away one sheet of metal at a time. Across Aurora and Isabela, floodwaters surged inland with terrifying speed, climbing staircases, swallowing living rooms, and dragging debris through open doors. The storm's reach stretched nearly 1,000 miles, covering 2/3 of the entire country in a single band of violent wind and rain. By sunrise, thousands of homes were destroyed, hundreds of roads washed out, and communication lines severed. The first official reports called it catastrophic, but those on the ground didn't need the headlines. They were already living the nightmare.
Yeah, here it is. That's a big one.
When darkness returned, the storm grew even louder. The wind didn't howl, it screamed, ripping through steel and concrete like paper. For hours, Super Typhoon Uwan turned the eastern Philippines into a battlefield between nature and survival. In Catanduanes, homes shook as gusts over 140 miles per hour tore the roofs clean off. Windows shattered. Billboards twisted like tin foil. Across the Bicol region, entire villages vanished beneath walls of water. Residents clung to power poles, door frames, and tree trunks, anything strong enough to hold them as the flood rose inch by inch. Power was gone. Communication was gone. Only the roar of the storm remained. Emergency teams received desperate calls from families trapped on rooftops, some begging for help, others whispering prayers through the static before the line went dead. By midnight, rescuers could no longer move. Roads were blocked by fallen trees and debris, and visibility had dropped to near zero. Helicopters were grounded, boats overturned, and ambulances trapped by the same waters they were sent to cross. For thousands, the night felt endless, a long, terrifying silence between the thunder and the next gust of wind. It wasn't just a storm anymore. It was survival hour by hour, heartbeat by heartbeat. By dawn, the Philippines was drowning. Entire towns in Luzon and the Bicol region were swallowed by floods so deep only rooftops and church steeples broke the surface. In Aurora and Quezon rivers burst their banks, transforming farmlands into vast inland seas. Rescue boats glided through what used to be city streets, past floating cars, street signs, and pieces of shattered homes. More than 900,000 people were forced to flee, crowding into school gyms, churches, and makeshift shelters. Inside, families huddled together on concrete floors, clutching bags of food and photos of the lives they left behind. Outside, the rain just wouldn't stop. Over 10 inches fell in less than a day, the kind of deluge meteorologists said could happen once in a generation. The Philippine Coast Guard and military convoys pushed through landslides and rising water to reach isolated communities. In Catanduanes, rescuers pulled children from submerged homes. In Isabela, teams used rubber boats to navigate currents that moved faster than highways in rush hour. Power was out across half the island. Hospitals ran on backup generators. And across the Pacific, weather agencies tracked the massive storm clouds stretching 1,000 miles wide, still gaining strength. For the Philippines, it wasn't just a national emergency. It was déjà vu, another chapter in a story of resilience written after every storm, every flood, every heartbreak. When the winds finally eased, the silence was haunting. The Philippines woke to a landscape that looked like it had been torn apart by war. In Catanduanes, homes were flattened roads buried under landslides, and fishing boats lay broken miles from the sea. From above, entire neighborhoods appeared as brown patches of mud and debris, the coastline redrawn by floodwaters and storm surge. Rescue teams worked around the clock, wading through knee-deep mud to search for survivors. Helicopters dropped food and medicine to stranded villages where bridges had collapsed. In Albay, mud flows from Mount Mayon poured through nearby towns, coating everything in ash and silt. In the capital region, Metro Manila power outages plunged millions into darkness while firefighters cleared fallen trees and power lines. Hospitals overflowed with the injured and the sick. Parents searched shelters for missing children. Entire communities were left cut off from clean water and food supplies. The government declared a state of calamity, unlocking emergency funds and mobilizing the army to restore order and deliver aid. Meanwhile, volunteers, teachers, students, church groups formed human chains to pass relief goods through the flood-soaked streets. Even in the chaos, there were moments of grace. A police officer carried a newborn wrapped in a towel to safety. A fisherman shared the last of his rice with his neighbors. And as the sun broke through the clouds, for the first time in days, people stood in the wreckage of their homes and whispered one word that defines them every time disaster strikes: Bayanihan, the Filipino spirit of unity. News of Super Typhoon Uwan's destruction spread fast from Manila to New York, from CNN headlines to storm trackers across the world. Satellite images showed a monstrous swirl of clouds nearly 1,000 miles wide, dwarfing the islands below. For many Americans watching, it was a chilling reminder of how powerful nature can be and how small we all are beneath it. Scientists from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, compared Uwan's intensity to some of the strongest Pacific systems ever recorded. Meteorologists warned that warmer oceans, the same pattern fueling hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico, had supercharged this storm, giving it the strength to flatten cities and flood entire coastlines. It was another data point in a growing global crisis: storms that grow faster, hit harder, and last longer than ever before. International aid began to pour in. The United States, Japan, and Australia pledged millions in emergency assistance, sending C-130 planes packed with relief supplies and portable hospitals. On social media, "Pray for the Philippines" trended worldwide as Americans, Filipinos, and people across Asia shared images of solidarity, heartbreak, and hope. But beyond the donations and the headlines, there was something deeper, a shared unease. Every major storm feels closer now. Whether it's a hurricane in Florida, a wildfire in California, or a super typhoon across the Pacific, the message is the same. The planet is changing, and so are the storms that shape it. As the floodwaters slowly recede and the winds fade into silence, one truth remains: the people of the Philippines are once again proving their unbreakable spirit. They've lost home's power and everything familiar. Yet they still rise, rebuild, and help each other one act of kindness at a time. But this storm isn't just their story, it's ours too. From the hurricanes pounding America's coasts to the typhoons tearing through Asia, we're all living in the same atmosphere under the same changing sky. Every storm like this is a reminder that resilience is human, but preparedness is a choice. If this story moved you, if it made you stop and think, don't let it fade here. Hit like to support real stories that matter. Share this video with someone who needs to see what's happening beyond their own backyard. And subscribe for more true stories of courage, disaster, and the power of nature. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe storms like this are simply nature's cycle, or proof that our planet is changing faster than we're ready for? How can we prepare, not just as individuals, but as one global community before the next storm arrives? Because every flood, every gust, every broken silence is nature speaking to us. The question is, are we listening?